Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow, people, is back. And this week we are at Coney Island Brewery in Brooklyn, New York. And it's perfect timing because the Coney Island crew are just about to kick off their annual Freak Week. And another thing, Coney Island is actually part of the A&S Brewing Collaborative segment owned by the Boston Beer Company. Hey, the show you're about to hear was recorded in their outdoor seating area with the sights and many sounds of Surf Avenue serving as the backdrop for the conversation with head brewer Alex Winter and Freak Chief and certified Cicerone Devin O'Brien. As always, BTBT brings you right into the conversation. You got motorcycles in the background. You got screaming baby at one point, but hey, it's what we do. The guys talk about life, business, BTBT exclusives, and of course, lots of craft beer. Now, don't forget, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and rate and review the show too. Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow appreciates your support. It goes a long way. Now, crack a brew and enjoy. Cheers.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow, and we are here in Brooklyn, Coney Island Brewery. Justin, how you doing today, man?
We're doing great,
Yeah, some nice outdoor seating over here.
Yeah.
And we have two very special guests. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
What's going on? I'm Devin O'Brien.
I'm Alex Winter, brewer here at Coney Island.
They call me the Freak Chief on my business card. I don't know if that counts.
Freak Chief. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. We might have to ease into that, but we're certainly inspired by the neighborhood down here in Coney Island.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, how long have you been brewing?
Brewing at all?
Yeah.
Probably, I guess it's 10 years now.
10 years.
Oh, wow.
I started home brewing in college, and I moved to California for my first career in the video game industry. But while I was out in California, so grew up here in New York, just doing extract kits during college, and then moved to California and getting out there, had a backyard, a garage, that kind of thing. And I was like, all right, time to do all grain. And I fell in love with brewing during that time to the point where I ended up leaving the video game industry to go back to school to study brewing.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool. Like I think like home brewing in college, that's so interesting because my college experience was just, Milwaukee Beast.
Other side of the beer.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was definitely I was popular because of the beer, and that's actually when I moved to California and I really got into home brewing. My cousin was actually going to Stanford at the time that I was in the Bay Area, and I just started making all the beer for his. He wasn't in a frat, but it was a frat. So I ended up making all the beer for these frat parties, and it over the course of a year went from me bringing a couple of the 6-packs to these parties to just me showing up with my kegerator and 6 kegs. And at that point, it was just like I'm having more fun doing this on the weekends than I am at work all week. So
Wow.
Right on.
Well, not to derail the conversation, but could you briefly talk about what you did in the video game industry?
I was a associate producer, writer, and game systems designer.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun, but it's also, not to say brewing isn't a grind, but I'm at least not in a cubicle all day. And
Sure.
Working in the video game industry, sitting in a cubicle for 60 hours a week, not seeing the sun, it was not the life for me.
Understandable. It's totally understandable.
Sure. So then how did you actually first get into brewing?
Professionally or just into beer?
Just into craft beer in general?
Well, so I grew up here in New York, and for me here, beer was St. Ives. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And but spring break, senior year of high school, me and a couple of buddies went to Europe for a couple of weeks, and while there, I was introduced to Duvel, and that just blew my mind.
Sure.
And at the time, you could not really find that here. And I also on that trip was introduced to mead. And so I came back home and I started looking up, like, all right, well, I can't find mead for sale anywhere in Manhattan.
Sure.
So I started trying to figure out, like, oh, how do you make it? I looked it up and it was just like, aged for 6 months. I don't have that kind of time. But everywhere that I was reading about making mead, they also mentioned beer, and it was just like, well, I can't make mead. I'm not going to waste 6 months of my time doing that. But beer in 2 weeks, I have that kind of patience.
It's not bad. Yeah,
Sure.
And now, how long have you been working with Coney Island here?
I've been here, guess it's been over a year and a half. I started January 4th, year and a half ago.
Nice. And so, Devin, how did you kind of get into Coney Island here?
Yeah, Craigslist specifically.
Really? All right. Okay. Yeah.
I kind of backed into beer, actually. I was a teacher for a couple years after college, and
What did you teach?
I taught high school ESL and psychology.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
And I was also in the nonprofit sector for a little while. Started like a rugby organization for kids, and initially I was always a beer nerd. I went to school in Maine, and I think my first like craft beer experience was Shipyard as a Spear Pumpkinhead, and I didn't really know that they were like seasonal beers my freshman year in college, and then like all of a sudden there's these cases of Pumpkinhead rolling into campus, and it was like fall in a cup, and I was watching football in Maine drinking this beer, and it kind of blew my mind. And ever since then I kind of just like went around Maine and Allagash, and at the time kind of blew my mind, and I started working part-time bartending jobs at craft bars and stuff, and at that time it was just to fund my nonprofit and doing whatever I was doing, and ended up managing a bottle shop and a home brew shop up in the Hudson Valley.
Okay.
So I learned about hops and yeast and grains, and kind of advised people on home brewing stuff and bottles, and ran the tap room and got to curate the list and stuff. And then I was moving to New York and Googled beer stuff, and Craigslist had Coney Island Brewery available. So
Okay.
Nice.
that was that.
Nice. The rest is history, right?
Yeah.
Rest is history.
So now, are you a certified Cicerone?
Yeah. I got to nerd out this winter, and
That's awesome.
the test, yeah.
So what was that like, trying to going through that process?
it was the coolest test I've ever studied for, honestly.
Yeah.
I hadn't taken one since college, so you have to like read books and stuff. Like you have to really.
Sure.
I spent 2 months like really kind of diving in and reading a lot of stuff, and the fun part was I would just go to like craft bottle shops and buy 15 bottles, and I would have my brother pour them in the kitchen into cups without telling me what was what, and I would just go down the line and try to appraise them and figure out what I was drinking. So you got to drink and read and drink and read, and
Sure.
it wasn't all too bad.
That's
but
not bad. That's not
It
bad.
was a challenge, but it was fun. So I'm glad I did it for sure. Yeah.
So just get into a little history of Coney Island. So when did Coney Island officially open down here?
This facility is just over 2 years old, so we just had our second anniversary in August. Stork swallowers, fire breathers, still walkers, all that kind of stuff to ring in the second birthday. So we're pretty young here on Serve Avenue.
And how many beers do you guys currently have on tap?
We always have 8 beers on tap. We usually have 2 of those are pretty much always going to be Mermaid and the IPA. And then the rest are pretty much constantly rotating. And then we do also carry a couple of our hard sodas in bottles for the people that prefer those. And we just put in a little 2-head manual cask canner.
Really?
So we're doing super limited cans out of the brewery that I can tell you I've seamed every single one of those cans myself.
Oh wow. Okay.
All right.
Canning day is a whole day. It takes up my day, but it's definitely a fun new thing that we're starting to do down here. Is just me canning up super small quantities of some of our really limited beers. And
Oh wow. What was the first beer you guys canned?
what was the first beer that we canned?
It's Cotton Candy Kolsch, wasn't
Yeah, it was the Cotton Candy Kolsch, and then we did the Tart Cherry Berliner Weiss. Then we did the 90 Years Young Double IPA, and in about a week and a half, I'm going to can up the Super Freak.
That's right. Nice. So when you guys say super limited, like how small of a run is it?
Our brew house here is pretty small. We just have a 10-barrel system, so we're very small. And then when I'm doing the canning runs, it depends on the beer and what people are interested in. But for most of these, I'm doing 20, 25 cases. So really small amounts. It's it's not supposed to be a huge thing that sees distribution. It's really just since so much of the stuff that we make here is not what's making it out into the grocery stores and things. It's a way of people to take some of our limited beers home that they can't get in bottles in their grocery store.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Do we want to talk about what we have on these flights?
Yeah, absolutely,
okay.
guys. Let us know what we got.
So
over there.
I got, what did I grab for you? Did the Mermaid Pilsner.
Okay.
So that's pretty much our main flagship. #1 craft Pilsner in New York State.
Woo! Who's counting?
I got the Hell Ride, which is a smoked Hellas lager. Got a little bit of beechwood smoked malt in there, a little peat smoked malt, and some cherrywood smoked malt. Got the Merman New York IPA, and then we did the Freaktoberfest.
Freaktoberfest. Okay. I think the Freaktober is maybe my favorite.
That one's definitely the fresh seasonal beer right now.
Okay, is the Freaktober maybe how you got your name, or is like
There's a lot of freak stuff. Everybody always gets on my back because I name all of our events like freak this, freak that, this freak, this that. So it becomes a bit of a theme. But, it's all because Coney Island is kind of the freakiest place in the world, maybe. We've got the last true sideshow in the whole country.
Sure.
Right.
Human oddities, sword swallowing.
Yeah.
Snake charmer. We literally had one time, we had an event, and we brought the snake charmer in from the sideshow, and there was an anonymous tip that there was a wild animal loose in Coney Island, and we had, animal control roll up, is there a snake loose in your beer garden?
Oh, that's funny.
It's like, yeah, but we wanted that to happen, So freaky stuff happens here, and, we're about celebrating that.
Okay.
So it ends up being that a lot of our Freakoween, Freaktoberfest, we have a beer freak club. We got a lot
Freak Week is coming up.
Freak Week is coming up in September, so...
So tell us a little bit about Freak Week.
Yeah. So it's kind of a week-long celebration of the freaky beer styles that we have coming out of Coney Island Brewery. We're kicking it off with Freaktoberfest at the brewery itself on the 23rd. So we have these big old steins that you can actually get if you're a member of our Beer Freak Club and you come to a certain amount of events. You get your own stein, and it's like a 22-ounce pour for the price of a pint. We're going to bring in the Bindlestiff Family Circus, and there's going to be a bunch of performers and stuff in the beer garden. We're doing brats with Brooklyn Bangers, which started at the Vanderbilt on Vanderbilt Ave in Prospect Heights. So now they do Brooklyn-made encased meats, Weisswurst and bratwurst and cheddarwurst and all that kind of stuff.
That sounds great.
And we work with a local chef, Kate O'Donnell from Brighton Beach. She's going to be doing potato salad and pretzels and all that kind of good stuff. And that kind of kicks off a whole week where we're going to be doing a bunch of different events all across the city and market. Our sales team works really hard to put stuff up at accounts all across New York. We work with Cafe Grumpy actually really closely. The beans that we use in Freaktoberfest are from Cafe Grumpy, roasted in Brooklyn. And then our Super Freak, which is the imperial kind of crazy version of that beer, is made with cold brew from Cafe Grumpy, actually just dumped into it. So we're doing an event with Cafe Grumpy at Whole Foods. Where we're going to it's like roasters and coasters, we're calling it.
Right.
We talk about roasting beans and brewing beer and stuff. And then we just, we brew a bunch of special beers. Super Freak, Tilly, which is a sour red saison.
Kettle soured red saison for Tilly. And then we're also going to be putting out Time Bender, which is an imperial stout with vanilla beans, cocoa nibs, and French oak.
Oh, damn. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Those both sound good. And now you mentioned the Freak Club, so can you tell a little audience who may not know, so what is that? How do people join if they want to join?
Yeah, totally. It's just kind of like a basic fan club kind of for the beer and our brews. You just get a punch card if you give us your email. You get a exclusive mailer that only goes out to the Beer Freak Club that tells you, you get access to pre-releases. So we had this beer Siren's Cry, which was Fig, Thyme, and Honey Pilsner. And, you got to drink it 2 weeks before anybody else did. We did a little pre-release at the brewery. We do special perks at events. So you get Stein pours, or you get early access, or you get, discounts on stuff that nobody else gets access to. And throughout the year with every event and everything that you attend with our brand, you get a little punch on your card. After 5 punches, you join the Stein Club, so you get your own kind of Beer Freak sign. After 10 punches, you get this Beast stainless steel growler filled up for free. And you get access to a bunch of stuff all around the city when our brand is doing parties and things of that nature. You get punches along the way.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That does. So I'll ask you first, but both ask you guys the same question. So are there any particular styles of beers that you kind of prefer over others, that you kind of gravitate to a little more?
Honestly, I like a bit of everything. I really, and it definitely plays into what we do here, I like to take really simple traditional styles and just do something weird with them. Like Devin was just saying, the Siren's Cry, it was just traditional Pilsner and then throwing like a lot of time into it and making it just its own thing. It's I just like having fun with those classic styles. The cotton candy Kolsch, that one's really just a nice, simple, traditional Kolsch that we put a lot of strawberry juice and strawberry puree into. Comes out a nice pink, and it just completely changes the beer.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Sounds delicious. And how about you? How about you, Devin?
Yeah, I think part of that whole Cicerone dive, I think, got me on a trend of just like classic styles, like especially the Trappist stuff, and like just like going to like Ritter Guts and like all the original kind of OG, what's that alt beer, the swing top, yeah, and just like going and finding these kind of obscure beers and really original styles. I'm going back towards the traditional stuff, and I'm kind of I've got a soft spot for the Flemish Reds and stuff like that, but I kind of like going back, even just like going through Wine Safiner and drinking a lot of Vitus recently.
Yeah.
Kind of
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool. All the history, the stories behind all those beers. Put those beers in context. It's pretty cool to taste regions,
Sure, absolutely.
As you drink, yeah.
And so, like, given that you guys are into, the classic styles, that's a good point. Now we see kind of this change in the shift in craft beer. I mean, where do you guys see craft beer going, and how do you see kind of, what's Coney Island's evolution? How does Coney Island play a role in that?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's like polygamous and polyamorous these days with craft beer. Everybody falls in love with a bunch of different stuff, and I think at least what I've begun to appreciate and kind of see in the market is like everybody wants something new. Like even when we bring back a style that's like a fan favorite, it doesn't make as much of a splash as something new. Everybody's looking for the next thing, and I think a lot of people drink 7 days a week and drink something different 7 days a week a lot of the time, especially when you get really into craft and you want to kind of explore new horizons and taste new breweries and expand your palate with new styles and stuff. So I don't know, I think that kind of polyamorous trend is what people want. They want new stuff. They want to see rotation. They want to see innovation. They want to see things that they haven't seen before, which kind of plays into what we do. We're rotating our taps so much. We got 8 taps. 2 of them are core styles, and 6 of them change every week or 2.
Really?
So we're always trying to do new stuff and hopefully keep up with that. People seem to have an appetite for what's new and what's changing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And so what's the Coney Island distribution like? Like,
Yeah.
how far can you go to find some Coney
Yeah,
Island?
so the hard sodas are actually in all 50 states. You can drink the hard root beer in California. And then we've got our core brands down to about DC on the East Coast, just like along the East Coast region.
And those are all bottles, right?
Yeah.
All bottles.
And we've got cans as well. Get the Mermaid and 16-ounce cans actually in the ballpark right here. We got Mermaid 16-ounce
nice.
cans, and we're doing some cans for our new Merman New York IPAs coming out to you.
Oh, when is that coming out?
It's a little tease, but
little BTBT exclusive.
It's coming out.
all right. We gotta check. We gotta check for that. Very, very cool. So, obviously, in the summer and the spring, you guys must be kind of jam packed here. It's a great space. I mean, you're pretty much located really well. So, what's it like the rest of the year? Like, how's it going? Like the winter.
Quiet, very quiet. And it's kind of insane how quickly it changes over. So just after Labor Day, we pared down the tasting room hours. During the summer, we're open 7 days a week. Right now, we're only open Wednesday through Sunday. I came in Tuesday after my Labor Day off, and the only 2 people I spoke to all day were the UPS guy and the CO2 delivery guy.
Wow.
It was just
Those are important people.
it was just me and the brewery with my music and nobody else.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
So that's all it took one day after Labor Day, and this place just gets real quiet.
Yeah. It's 2 businesses, In the summer, we manage Madness, and we do weekly events Monday through Monday. There's something going on at the brewery, and then in the winter, when we pare back the hours, we do more kind of focus on like the community stuff and get a lot more regulars. Do smaller things like beer dinners, intimate 13 seating or 13-person, 14-person seatings in the tap room with a chef, and more ticketed events, and kind of hunker down until we jump in the ocean on January 1st for the brewery.
We still have our fun events. There's the New Year's event is it's definitely a lot of fun, and then
Totally.
the polar bear plunge is Well, popular is maybe not the right word, but a lot of people go.
Oh, that sounds rough.
Yeah,
Like,
that does
my
sound
friend, my friend did that, and I was just like,
It
nah.
cures your hangover in 6 seconds.
That would be the best thing for a hangover. Yeah, that would definitely would be. So tell me a little bit more about the chef and the beer and food pairing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Just started doing it this year. Her name's Kate O'Donnell. She was the chef de cuisine at Esco, which is a Michelin star restaurant in New York for a while. She runs all the catering at the King's Theater now, and she's just kind of doing her own thing, restaurant consulting, and she's opened some restaurants and consulted with bars all over the city. And she lives in Brighton Beach down the street, and she used to just come in here and drink, and we were talking about stuff, and we were like, I was just at the time thinking it'd be sweet to do like a beer dinner here in the brewery, you know,
Yeah.
like right here where you can see the tanks and you can meet the brewer. And she was like, well, shit, I cook food. Do you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
So,
Hell
she's
yeah.
local and she's talented, and, she preps all the stuff, obviously off-site. We don't have a kitchen here.
Right.
She's got all her licensing. She's all, good to go. And she brings it in here. We played out 5 courses. We pair it up with a couple beers per course.
Yeah. He's just laughing. We got the
This baby's
screaming
like,
kid.
that
Yeah,
sounds so
yeah.
good. I want to cry about it.
I feel like I'm at home right now, just screaming kids everywhere.
It's all about the ambience here.
Absolutely.
The
Look,
environment.
we're in Brooklyn. We're
Exceptional.
living it with,
Yeah.
with the community here, with the people.
Unfiltered.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
our Merman IPA.
Nice plug.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hashtag shameless plug. We love it. We love shameless. Drop those all night. We don't care.
But yeah, so we're doing our next one in October. We've done brunch with Kate. We did a beery brunch because Alex made up a brunch beer, Pearly Awake, with pear juice and apple juice, Belgian ale yeast, super carbonated, effervescent, kind of like a champagne. So we did a brunch with her, and I don't know, beer and food is just the best thing ever,
Absolutely. So that I was going to ask you, when you're brewing, do you have kind of like food pairings in mind at some points?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's beer. It pairs with everything. You'll find a food that works with it. There's no
That's true.
reason to necessarily come up with something ahead of time. Of course, during the process, the moment the water hits the mash, you definitely like just that smell. You think, I know what this is going to go really well with. But recipe formulation, it's not really a part of it because it'll go with something.
Fair enough. And so when you guys are not drinking Coney Island brews, what do you guys typically? I know we covered it a little bit, but
Yeah.
is there like a go-to you like to go to when you're not drinking Coney Island beer?
I guess I'm kind of polyamorous. Like I said, there's so many new good breweries in New York. I like trying a bunch of stuff as it opens up, and love to keep local. And we're proud to be part of the New York City Brewers Guild, and supporting those guys is awesome. We were just up at Single Cut for the last meeting. Got to try a bunch of their beers I hadn't had before, but
Oh, those guys are awesome.
yeah, they're super cool. And I got a soft spot for Logsdon out of Oregon.
Okay.
All those farmhouse ales. Special place in my heart.
All right.
But yeah, I'm always switching it up, trying new things.
Cool. And how about you?
I pretty much I'll drink anything.
He brings
What
like
about
a bottle.
Milwaukee's
He's got this
best?
like collection of
Yeah,
reserve stuff
I-
that is silly though.
I
It doesn't make sense.
I have a problem. I admit it. This is an intervention. I admit it. I have a problem hoarding bottles.
This does not sound like a problem.
So I mean, I'm probably sitting at my place right now on a couple hundred bottles that
Wow.
that I age, and just different things. I mean, I always want to try something that's new. I hear about something that's a flavor combination I've never heard of before, and that's what I want. I mean, it's a common question people ask when they find out that I'm a brewer. It's like, oh, what's your favorite beer? And
It's a
my
loaded
best
question.
response to that is, if I went into a bar, they had 10 taps, and 9 of them are my 9 favorite beers I've ever had in my life, and I've never even heard of the 10th. That's the one I'm going to get.
Right.
Because I want to know what somebody else is doing that I haven't done yet. And that's what I'm interested in. Of course, I'll do that for maybe a drink or two, and then I probably order a Pilsner.
Sure.
So when was the last time you drank Coors Light or Bud Light? When was the last time you went that route?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure when the last time I drank like Coors Light or a Bud Light was. My brothers pretty much always tend to have Stella in their fridge. They drink that enough.
They don't drink your beer?
They're not really beer guys.
Okay.
Okay. You know, they're never going to listen to this, so I'll say they're pretty snobby. They're definitely-
Shots
they're-
fired
they're
right now.
definitely- They're definitely wine people.
Okay. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, people say, what's your favorite beer? What are you drinking now? It's depends on the temperature, it depends on what I'm eating, it depends on the venue. Like, if I'm at a punk rock concert, I'm not going to go hunting down, trade cans of Heady Topper in the back, or look for something trendy. And I'm going to slam like a PBR, and
Yeah.
I probably did that last weekend,
Last weekend. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I think there's a time and a place for every beer,
Okay.
I'll sit down to some crazy, double bourbon barrel aged chocolate, imperial double triple dry hopped sour Brettanomyces, hybrid stout on a Friday night.
Taking notes. I'm taking notes.
There you go.
Lactobacillus lambic. But I think there's a time and place for everything, and I think certain times there's a place for PBR and Bud and that kind of stuff, and I'm not against doing that on a Friday night if I'm just looking to have a beer at a rock concert or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's fair. And it's interesting because you see it in the craft beer community, you see a lot of some people kind of really get hung up on that. And it's like if it's not a craft beer or if it's a brewery that was craft and it was purchased by somebody else, that's, they kind of get really defensive at times, which is kind of funny to see.
Yep.
And, on our last show, we were at Transman in Long Island City, and one of the owners, he just said, he's like, you know what, it's just beer. You drink what you like, you know, and that's it at the end of the day. It just so happens for me personally, what I tend to like is craft beer more so than any other type or commercial style of beer. But at the end of the day, you drink what you like, and that's what it's all about.
If I can get a $3 Tecate, it's Saturday night at 11 o'clock, I'm not going to be holding my
Complaining
nose
about
in the air and saying, oh,
Sure.
yeah, what strain of yeasts are they using,
You know what's funny about Tecate? One night, this was a few years ago, and it was during a Top Rank boxing pay-per-view. It was a Manny Pacquiao fight, and it was like if you buy X amount of Tecate, then you can, you get a certain amount of rebate. And we were like, what the hell? Let's just do it. And we did it, and by the end of the night, we're like, we fucking hate Tecate. we just couldn't do it
Everything
anymore.
in moderation, everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. Yeah.
Well, it was a couple years ago, something similar, but I was at a place where it says, what was it? I think it was if you drank the most Pacifico, you were entered in to win a Pacifico bike, like a nice beach cruiser. And we were like,
wow.
all like, oh, totally, we're going to do this. And then it did not take much Pacifico for us to be like, I don't want the bike.
That's great marketing, though, man. Just drink this, and you might get a bike.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But before you mentioned that you guys have a really good sales team. Actually, we met one of your sales guys at a craft beer festival that Starfish Junction Productions put on probably over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of how we first connected. So, do you guys do a lot of beer festivals?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really active sales team. They're awesome. They're great. And yesterday we were doing beer and bocce in the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, popping up with a few other breweries.
Okay.
We got to, to be honest, there's so much going on in Coney Island, right here on Surf Avenue. Sometimes I don't, keep tabs on everything that's happening because almost every day of the week, somewhere in Manhattan, somebody in our sales team is doing something. Tap takeovers, and the likes in all the boroughs. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So now, given that, do you guys find it hard to kind of balance work with life?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but
I mean, the brewery's lifestyle. I mean, it's got to be kind of like almost like nonstop.
It's hard, and I mean, it's also I got 4 kids.
Wow. Wow. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ranging in age from 10 months to 8 years old.
Oh wow.
And so it's
You're
one of
a
those
busy
things-
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no problem saying that finishing a brew day here is not as tiring as going home and putting them all to bed.
Yeah.
But it's
He has
one of those
3
things.
kids.
Yeah.
I got 3 boys, so yeah.
3 boys,
It's
yeah.
like WrestleMania in my house every day. Yeah, it is.
Well, it's definitely like it's important to me to make it home, for dinners and bedtimes and all that kind of stuff. But it's also like yesterday and today were the first days of public school being open here,
Yep.
and so it was nice that I did get to come in late, yesterday and today, and so I'm going to work a little bit late, but I at least got to drop my kids off at school, and
That's awesome.
it's like any other job, you got to be proactive about making sure that you're taking care of your home life as well. But
yeah.
it is, to me, the hardest part is it's the events, because it's hard to justify going out and drinking for 6 hours on a Saturday when it's like, no, I'm getting paid. Like,
It's my job, honey.
That's the dream, right?
You know,
They're just getting paid to
need-
drink.
I need to be at this festival when, the kids are doing, things that I'd also like to be at. But so it's hard to not feel like I'm shirking my responsibility when I
Right.
am doing.
But it's
that kind
interesting
of
because,
stuff.
but it is. I mean, you are working really
Oh, yeah.
hard.
No, it's definitely a job. It's a big part of the job, and sure, it's also fun too. But it's a big part of the job.
So I see, like you tatted up on your hands there. You got the hop there. Can you kind of?
Also, I have the 4 main ingredients of beer on my right
Yeah.
knuckles: barley, hops, water, and yeast.
Taking a picture right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's really-
So it was definitely like getting those was a choice. Not only that I was going to stay in the beer industry for a while, but you get hand tattoos. There's not that many jobs open.
No.
I've definitely I got no choices. I'm going to be a brewer.
yeah, you kind of you're pigeonholing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's dedicated to the craft. Definitely dedicated to the
And
craft.
also, show them your arm, because
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to take off my pants, but we we do have some other tattoos for.
We all
Oh,
went
wow.
out
Oh, wow.
a couple
Wow.
weeks ago, and we all got matching tattoos of it's the Tilly face with the wings from the Warriors.
Okay.
So at that point, all of the full-time employees down here in Coney Island, we all went out together and got group tattoos, which is a bonding experience.
Nice.
That's a classic movie.
Yeah.
You're classic.
Where? That's
Yeah.
classic.
And you're right here too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah.
Right here. Yeah, man.
Squad tattoos.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. It's funny because we had posted up. We reposted a picture that you guys posted recently on Instagram. Shameless plug. Beer today, beer tomorrow. Instagram. And somebody's comment that we know, they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But they're like, the logo is just the person was like, this logo could give people nightmares. So do you have any insight into like, is there a story behind that logo?
Yeah, so that's George Tillieu. They call him Tilly. He's the father of Coney Island. He started Steeplechase Park back here when Coney Island was the playground of the world, the #1 amusement destination in America. People from all over the country, all over the world, came right here to Coney Island.
Oh,
We're
okay.
talking like, early 1900s, but this was the place to be. And the parachute jump was a ride, and there were these opulent structures on the boardwalk. There was a hotel shaped like an elephant that was 20 stories tall. People came from far and wide to Coney Island as the place to be, and George Tillieu was kind of like the unofficial mayor of Coney Island and the guy that kind of drove all that, the home of amusements, the home of, freaks and oddities and all that kind of stuff. So his face is now the emblem of Coney Island. George Tillieu, it's a caricature. Still the face of Coney Island USA, which is the nonprofit down the street that still kind of keeps those traditions alive with a museum and the sideshow and all that kind of stuff. And legend has it, my great-grandmother was arranged to be married to this guy, but he was an asshole, so she didn't want to marry him, and then she didn't marry him.
Are you serious?
Wow.
My great-grandmother had a house on West 8th Street before it was the aquarium, and the first picture I saw of my grandmother was at the front of the Mardi Gras parade, which was the parade that predated the Mermaid Parade back down here on Surf Avenue. So my family grew up down there in Coney Island, and they're all like, we spent 2 generations trying to get the hell out of Coney Island, and you come back.
Wow.
What the hell are you doing?
You know what? I think she may have been better off. He was a strange-looking dude. He was a
He
strange-looking
looked
dude.
pretty weird, yeah. And now he's tattooed on my leg.
Now he could have been your great-grandfather.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know we need to stop soon, but my last question. I'm a hip hop guy, so we like beef. It's like, yo, is there anybody that you want to say do you want to like body slam the steeplechase people next door? What do you think? No? Yes? No?
Nah, dude, it's all love in Coney Island, man.
Okay.
We're about, accepting all your weirdness, all you misfits, all you freaks.
Okay.
Say that
Bearded
word for
ladies.
150 times tonight,
Yeah.
That's what Coney Island's about. It's about finding a place where everybody is accepted and all your weirdness is celebrated and you can swallow a sword and have no arms, and people still hug you on the stage at the Freak Show, and you can come over here and have a beer. So
There
it's
we
all
go.
love, man. Yeah.
Perfect. And so really quickly, you guys have any events coming up that you want to talk about? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, so we got tomorrow we got Puppies and Pints. Come on down. We have a bunch
Nice.
of puppies up for adoption, a local rescue shelter. They come in, hang out in the beer garden, and we drink a bunch of beer and hang out with them. And then next week is the start of Freak Week, so Freaktoberfest here at the brewery on the 23rd. Brats and freaks and good times. And then the whole week, you can go on our website and check out the events we got all over the city, from the event with Cafe Grumpy at Whole Foods and beyond. And then we got a cool murder mystery Halloween party happening in October.
Nice.
Things happen all year round, man. Every month, every week, there's something happening with Coney Island Brewery. So check out our website, follow us on Instagram. Shameless plug.
There you go.
And,
Hey,
yeah.
shameless
keep
plug
up.
away.
Keep up.
And you guys are doing? Are you guys going to be part of that that 5K, the brewery hop 5K?
Brewery
in
on
October?
5K.
Yeah,
I
in
don't know.
October.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were down.
That's also like the in-market world. Sometimes things happen there, and I'm just like, yep, sure.
That's fair.
Okay, so
That's fair.
it
That's
very
fair.
well could be. I'm not abreast.
That's fair. That's fair. Are there any other beers in the works that you guys can talk about that you want to talk about real quick?
Well, so I mean, the big one is that the Merman New York IPA is going to be hitting the market, hopefully by the end of the year, if not soon after that. It's going to be the brother or husband or whatever you want to call it to the Mermaid Pilsner.
Sure.
So it's an unfiltered New York style IPA is what we're calling it. Really, really good there. And other than that, I mean, we're all constantly just making new stuff down here, and I highly encourage people to come down. And if you like any of our stuff that you see that gets big distribution, you'll definitely like what we're making down here at the brewery.
Can release on the 23rd. Super Freak. Come on
Super
out.
Freak. Oh,
Super Freak.
23rd.
Can release, yep.
Okay.
Awesome. There you go.
I will be seaming each one of those cans.
Yes. Wow. It's hard work and dedication.
A little
There
bit
you
of
go.
love in every can.
Do you guys get a big turnout for your can releases?
Yeah, we definitely
Okay.
do. It's one of those things when you're just starting out. It takes a little bit for the word of mouth to get out, but we sold out of the Tartary Berliner Weiss. We're pretty much all done with the 90 Years Young IPA. So, okay.
Well, the cans are the big craze, right, in the craft
yeah.
beer world. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone, people lining up to get them. They trade for them. I mean, cans are they're kind of the it thing in the craft beer world right now. So
Totally.
it's good to see you guys kind of jumping on the can train, so to speak. And so if people want to find out more about Coney Island, guys want to shout out your website, your social media.
Yeah, ConeyIslandBeer.com, at Coney Island Beer on the Insta of Grams. You can find us on Facebook, tweets, Eventbrites, all the above. We're all over the place. Coney Island Beer. Check us out.
Okay.
Awesome. And then you guys kind of have been touching on it this whole time, but if you could just leave the audience, what is the Coney Island Brewery philosophy?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we're incredibly fortunate and grateful to be right here in the heart of Coney Island, which is one of the most incredible, iconic, historical, and weird neighborhoods in the country. So the brand is about celebrating that. It's about inspiring crazy innovation and weird new beer styles to kind of mirror the uniqueness of this neighborhood. And we're about the community. We work with community partners, nonprofits, the Alliance for Coney Island. It's really all about here. It's really all about Coney Island, and we draw a lot of inspiration from that. So it's kind of what we do: innovate, try new stuff, and stay weird.
Right on.
Stay weird.
The ride.
Hashtag take the ride.
That's
Come out.
right. All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Just any parting words?
Thanks for having us. I enjoyed the flights here. I like the whole. I like the Freaktober, and I like the weirdness that you guys have here. I like
Right.
which I didn't expect coming here. I'm from Pittsburgh, so like this is the second time I've been here, and the last time I was here was for a hot dog eating contest.
Oh yeah,
So-
we do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mermaid Parade, man, come out.
Okay.
Best
Okay.
party in New York.
I've heard about that. People talk big about this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll have to
If
do
you want
that.
to see how weird Coney Island can get,
Mermaid
That'll be
Parade.
it.
Yeah.
When is this?
It's third weekend in June usually.
Okay.
Starts off the summer. We got a float in it every year. You'll see some stuff. It's awesome.
Okay.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, I mean, just kind of picking up where Justin left off, thanks so much for having Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow here. Really appreciate it. Had a good time. Love the space here. Love the vibe. Really enjoyed the flight. I guess we're gonna sign off and keep drinking. Guys, Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow. Check us out. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Follow us. We're on Podbean. We're on iTunes. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we're there. And definitely check out Coney Island. Come down to Coney Island Brewery. Show these guys some love. They're doing some good things down here. And we'll talk to everybody soon. Peace.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the latest Beer Today, Beer Tomorrow podcast. We are back next week featuring Craft Culture, a craft beer bar, bottle, and can shop in Ridgewood, Queens, New York. Now visit beertodaybeertomorrow.com to check out our blog and to stay up to date on the latest news and upcoming events. Until next time, no matter where you are in the world, drink local, drink fresh, repeat. Cheers.